Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. This episode, the D Spectrum Not 1, the 225th episode marker. Yeah, I reached 225 episodes so far. Okay. Welcome back to Apatros Review, your guide to the wild world of science fiction, action, horror cinema with me, your host, Melissa. If you want to spell my name, just look at the channel name. Now that I've reached the 9th generation of the D Spectrum, this time marking my 225th episode, I wonder how long it will be before I reach the 10th one. That's a stupid question. Anyway, I managed to get through another lot of films that only professional bad movie masochists like myself would have the stomach to sit through, without getting the urge to blind ourselves to something like toothpicks, or play Russian roulette with a brick arms Lego-sized revolver by swallowing and seeing if it ruptures your intestines. If you're new to the D spectrum, this is basically my version of the worst films I've reviewed so far, except I restrict each special to the bad films I've covered in the previous 25 episodes, and the choices very rarely overlap. It, it's better than basically doing the worst films you that reviewed every 100 episodes because those ones tend to overlap. Anyway, I will provide a brief recap of each film here, and by the way, the films here are included if they get either a D+, a 3 out of 10 meaning they're disappointingly mediocre, a D, a 2 out of 10 meaning they're bad, or the dreaded D-, 1 out of 10, only reserved for the truly wretched stuff, since I don't like to try to cherry pick the absolute worst films since there are plenty of those for me to get through. So get ready to go for the bad movies in the previous 25 episodes of Apatros Review. By the way, if you're planning to play Russian roulette with that Brickham's revolver, clean it first so you don't get any corona into your digestive tract. Other than that, those Lego guns are pretty safe. Okay. Yeah, for part 1, this thing. Cruel Intentions 3, directed by Scott Zeal in the year 2004. I gave this one a D-. It's atrocious. This was the third film in the Cruel Intentions trilogy. The second film was actually a prequel put together from a couple episodes of an aborted television series, and was actually not entirely deserving of its bad reputation. This direct-to-video crapola was based on a relative of the nasty bitch Catherine Merteuil, who moves to California to escape the family reputation, but proves to be just as nasty as her infamous cousin. The film goes through the nasty sex-based mind games like the original film did, but not in any good means of doing so. Plus the idea of Christina Anapau, another one of those 15 minutes of fame youngsters who never got anything a real film career after this one, defeating their enemy by sleeping with him and then staging it to look like a sexual assault, was a very offensive move, given that today's audiences will not tolerate, especially with the Me Too movement of a few years ago. Needless to say, did not like the politics of this one at all, just plain pathetic. Okay. Blind Vengeance, directed by Stephen Lieb in the year 1994. I gave this one a D. It's bad. The first of a trilogy of episodes I did on the films of Gun for Hire, an obscure film studio that put out martial arts-oriented direct-to-video cheapies during the 1990s, this was a pretty bad former friends-turned-rival gym owners drama that didn't have anything good going for it. The martial arts shown here are an absolute joke, without any sort of proper choreography in place. If you're attempting to see every single 1990s direct-to-video martial arts film, and there are a shitload of those around, many of which haven't seen a legit DVD release yet, or are only on cheap bootlegs haunting your local flea market vendor, this one should be approached with caution. Into the Blood Ring, directed by Tom Oliver in year 1995. I gave this one a D+. It's disappointing. Same deal as the previous film, and it was actually the second of the 3 Gun for Hire films I reviewed, only this one has some decent dirt cheap fights. In fact, a whole heap of them. The final half hour is wall-to-wall ring combat, and a surprisingly decent true life story about a former commando who must enter the world of underground pit fighting in order to save his son's life. Just barely mediocre. Zombie Nation, directed by Uli Lommel in the year 2005. Gave this one a D-. It's atrocious. Of all the shitty zombie films I've seen in my life, this is without question the worst, unless I see the Norwegian ultra cheap Zombies 3D, which I heard was a whole lot worse than this one. Uli Lommel, a German new wave art house director whose quality work fell down a black hole once he arrived in the USA, effortlessly made a name for himself with a long string of ultra-low-budget serial killer schlock that literally looked like it was shot in an abandoned warehouse. Hang on, he did that. Cheap bastard. As for this one, a nasty LA street cop with ex-military history and a thick German accent, despite being born in America, moonlights as a serial killer, picking random women up and murdering them. Getting the shock of his life, one of his victims had the weird foresight to get a protection spell put on her by a team of voodoo practitioners, turning her and her fellow victims into raccoon-eyed zombies, who hunt down and literally dogpile the bastard, eating them until they find out they can eat normal human food, like cheeseburgers. What a load of ultra cheap shit. I wonder how bad a film has to be to get worse than this one, which is shot on a budget, I shit you not, of about $2,500. Where did the money go? Because it certainly doesn't look like we'll spend this one. Okay, Rollerball, directed by John McTiernan in the year 2002. Yeah, John McTiernan, the guy who directed Predator, my favorite film, Die Hard. I give this one a D-. It's atrocious. A dumbass attempt to make a remake of the cult 1975 science fiction proto-actioner about a brutal dystopian blood sport only set in the present day and having the sport of rollerball become a watered down, which means that fatalities are rare, but still crazy as heck semi-underground sport, played in the mining towns of the former Soviet Union satellite territories. Not really useful in any way, but the sheer yutzpah of the characters and the formidably stupid script do provide some sort of demented payoff for the hardcore set of bad movie masochists. All others steer well clear of this one. Watch 1975 original instead, or the 1998 Dean Cain telepic Future Sport, which was a lot better than what its reputation claimed it was. By the way, Rollerball actually premiered in Peru on my 13th birthday. In other words, 21st of March in 1998. There's actually a telepic also that came out that same year, that same day, in the States. What was it? The Advanced Guard? I'll review that in the future. Interesting film. Okay, The Ticker. Albert Pyun, 2001. Gave this one a D. It's bad. Albert Pyun was the director who many people hated with a passion reserved for Uwe Boll during the 1990s, but was actually a kick-ass director whose ability to compose exciting action movies, the 1993 Synthetic Nemesis is my favorite of his works, gained him a small, devoted cult following amongst VHS fanatics in the 1990s, although his quality fell down somewhat in the new century. Pyun also got a reputation of being constantly fucked over by his producers, as was the case with Ticker, a metaphysical story starring Steven Seagal in a rare supporting role that got edited into a messy Seagal vehicle and having some of its footage ripped straight from the likes of Cyborg Cop 2. I recognize much of the footage from that since I grew up watching Cyborg Cop 2 on VHS during the 90s. The original version was pretty decent if you believe Pyun's take on it, but the theatrical version is just plain pants. The Tomb, another Uli Lommel film, set from 2007. Gave this one a D-. Shot in the same disused and since demolished warehouse as Zombie Nation, this is in name only an adaptation of a H.P. Lovecraft story. Aside from the title, there's no Lovecraft connection in this one. This ranks alongside Zombie Nation and half of Lommel's serial killer shite as worst works. Despite the Lovecraft angle, this is essentially an extremely cheap Saw knockoff, which was issued on DVD by the very same people who made the Saw franchise, Lionsgate Studios. How they did not notice this is quite frankly a mystery. Zombie Massacre, directed by Marco Ristori and Luca Boni in year 2013. I give this one a D, it's bad. A failed attempt at a post-millennial rebirth of that most hardcore of zombie films, the 1980s Italian zombie cycle, one of my favorite types of zombie film. This piece of hitsa is a tale of four hopeless mercenaries sent to a shithole of an Eastern European nuclear plant support town to plant a tactical nuke to destroy the town before the flesh-eating zombies that populated breach quarantine. The 1980s Italian zombie cycle, like I said, my favorite type of zombie film, and this one doesn't quite cut it, even worse than the likes of Zombie Holocaust, Hell of the Living Dead, Zombie 3. Still, if you wanted to see topless zombie chicks getting their under tits blown away by a badass of a pool cleaner, then this turkey has your flavor. Okay, so that's it for the first half of the Spectrum 9. I will do part 2 in the next couple of days, so I'm getting a bit of a break for this one. And then, after that, 25 more episodes. Then it keeps going on and on. Okay. Now, I did not do requests, but if you want to know about a particular film or collection, or just if you have any questions about DVDs or so on, just hit me up in the comment section and I'll answer. Okay. To be continued. See ya.